Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're going to be ranking all the sets that are released in 2024 for Magic the Gathering in regards to Commander. So we are discussing all the sets that release with booster products, except we're excluding Fallout because that was collector booster only, and that would be, immediately down in the bottom tier because collector booster only sucks. This is my personal opinion and shouldn't be taken as the be all and end all. You guys can make up your own minds, and I love to hear the comments down below if you agree or disagree with certain things. I'm ranking in terms of buying boosters / boxes, not individual singles, as singles in an individual set could easily outrank even the best set to buy boosters for, because they will be more tailored towards your deck. If you need a certain thing for your deck, buy that certain thing. Don't buy boosters hoping to get that thing. There's going to be a summary at the end, but please watch the whole thing for, the pros and cons of each set. And I'm not ranking pre-cons either because that's an entirely different video. Before we start though, make sure you guys subscribe and everything like that. We are up 2%. 2% of the people who were watching and weren't subscribed have now subscribed. So, you want instant speed news, you want all the best stuff. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to hit 25k by the end of 2025. I'd love to hit 11k by the end of 2024 if we could, to get that super boost, as well as the fact that we're doing a huge giveaway to celebrate 10,000 subscribers. I'll put the link to that down below as well. So, and last thing, if you guys are going to be picking up singles or sealed product or anything like that based off of this list, make sure you click on down the link there. Support me, support the channel, get cheap stuff, go to TCG Player. All right, let's start off with Ravnica Remastered. So Ravnica Remastered, obviously, reprints from all of the different Ravnica sets. I'm going to go through pros of each and then cons of each, and then, give a final kind of summary. So big pro. Great cards that were reprinted, obviously, pulling some of the best stuff from all the Ravnicas, Cyclonic Rift, huge, Bruvac is huge, pulled from Jumpstart 2020, I think, or sorry, the first Jumpstart, I think he was. We've got the Shocklands, etc., etc. We've got the fact that there was 135 different retro prints, and people absolutely love retro prints. And then you got the 40 borderless / anime kind of arts as well. This Lord of the Void, I love it. These ones here, I'm not a huge fan of the generic anime art. I love the kind of this stuff though. This is really cool. We've got the nostalgia. So this is not for myself, but I know a whole bunch of people have that huge nostalgia hit from Ravnica, whether, you've used to play there and then come back, or whether you've still been playing since then. Ravnica just has a huge bunch of nostalgic cards, and, not just from the Ravnica blocks, but also, as I said, like Bruvac from Jumpstart, or from any thing that included Ravnica in precons and stuff along those lines. There's also no basic cards in this set. There was just a mana slot within the cards, and that had either gates, signets, shocks, or a chromatic lantern. So you didn't get those kind of basic lands that you've got probably a million of, but you could get the guild gates, which, unless you're building a gate deck, not hugely great, but still not awful, and potentially better than getting more basic lands that you already probably have a million of. On to the cons. It was only available in draft, collector, and draft or collector boosters. Therefore, it's hard to get the rares and rares that you want, because there's only one rare slot in here. Yeah. So that's not great. There's not even a wild card slot. This is a common or retro uncommon, a common or uncommon. It's just going to be harder to get rares that you want, and those are the big reprints. Also, as with most remastered sets, it also comes with a more expensive price tag to go alongside it, right? So you're getting draft boosters to start off with, which are harder to get rares and mythics, and then you're paying a little bit extra for it as well. So, just looking at the price here on TCG Player, you're paying $35 extra to get that draft, but then you're not going to be able to hit those big, super expensive things. Also, as I said, most of the value is from those rares and commons. There's not a huge banging amount of uncommons or commons that were reprinted that were really, really great. You've got the signets, which are decent and kind of good, and then Rhythm of the Wild, and then Persistent Petitioners is the only common above $1. It's just most of the value is just within those rares and mythics that are going to be harder to get. So for that, I've given it a C, because I do think that, if you kind of happen to pick up some on clearance or something, it's a good set to kind of open. It's just going to be hard to be able to get what you kind of want from it. Murders at Karlov Manor, and I know this is probably the most hated set of the year. It was not great, but I think there is some value in it, right? So first of all, the Surveil lands, absolutely amazing. You know, probably top 5. I'm going to say this twice in this video. Top 5 of all the dual lands for Commander. You know, they surveil. You can fetch them as well. Really, really great. We've got lots of nice artifact and token support. So there was a bunch of different stuff in here. There was about, you know, tokens and artifacts, not just about Investigate, which was clue tokens, but just like, you know, Gleaming Geardrake kind of just gets bigger when you sacrifice stuff. So for some decks, this is going to be good. And like, say, for example, my Iron Man deck makes use of a crime novelist really, really well. In fact, I made a crime novelist that was huge and was going to kill someone until they, you know, managed to, what they do, they remove the commander's plate off him or something like that to be able to remove him. So it's really good. Like there's just a bunch of really nice support for those archetypes. Slimes Against Humanity is in there. It's in the common slot. Good luck getting enough though. It's like it's a common, but I'm pretty sure that they weigh the commons. So, you know, there's some commons that are harder to get than other commons. And I think Slimes Against Humanity is one of those. You've also got a few very nice commons and uncommons, such as Aftermath Analyst, Insidious Roots, Demand Answers, or Pick Your Poison. Pick Your Poison especially is amazing. Like, this is a common that just makes it so everyone, except for you, has to sacrifice either an artifact, enchantment, or a creature with flying. Most likely you're going to use these first two, but that's potentially a 3-for-1, for 1 mana, where they have to also sacrifice it so it bypasses Shroud and bypasses hexproof as well. Really, really great. Aftermath Analyst is great to be able to return all those lands from your graveyard if you're in a mill strategy. Insidious Roots, if you're milling and then, you know, returning stuff back, great. Demand Answers, a really good kind of, you know, I think it's like an upgrade to like Thrill of Possibility kind of things where you can also sacrifice an artifact to go alongside it. So if you've got anything making treasures, clues, etc., it's good. On to the cons. The story and setting were not great. And doesn't feel very Ravnica-esque, as well as the fact that you've just got a whole bunch of characters in it that are all just, look, I'm wearing a fedora, therefore I'm a detective. Yo ho ho. You've got Evidence and Suspect were 2 of the big new mechanics, and honestly, they were kind of clunky. Suspect, unless I keep reading it, then I'm gonna always forget what Suspect do. They suspected, so they have Menace, and then they can't block. But I always forget which one it is, and then I forget the fact that it has Menace, I forget the fact that it can't block. It's just kind of a really clunky mechanic, and you need like tokens essentially to be able to show it. And then Collect Evidence, I found was kind of clunky myself, because it's like exile things from your graveyard up to whatever it is in regards to mana value. So say if you're collecting Evidence 6, you need to exile cards up to mana value 6, multiple cards potentially. Up to mana value 6 from your graveyard. So it just was kind of a bit clunky in my opinion. Detective Matters cards, they're not going to get support going forward, and you're going to get a few of them, and that's going to be like, you know, if a detective does this and stuff, and it's like, what? I didn't include in this, but I do like the new, what is it? New Disguise Morph. Yeah, Disguise, I think it was called. Disguise and Cloak. I thought that they were good, but also they end up creating the same thing with this clunky mechanics, because that's a morph creature, but this one has Ward 2, this one doesn't, especially if you're like mixing the two into a deck. So it's a good mechanic, but then also kind of clunky, like a good upgrade to the mechanic. Cases were so-so, like most of them aren't great. Some of them are good and usable, but then most of them are like, you know, you're going to get that first bit and then you're not going to worry about the rest of it, or it's going to be harder to hit the rest of it, or it's just not worth trying to do it, because, you know, for the same price as this, you could get something that, you know, does something better, or, you know, there's just a few different things that are better than a lot of the cases that just make it a bit clunky. It's just not great to use in my opinion. Murder's got C as well. You know, I think the Surveil lands, and I think that token support and stuff like that kind of rescues it from being lower than it. It wasn't a very fun set to open either. It just didn't have very many booster funds or, you know, interesting things in it. But those Surveil lands are just really, really great. And I do like some of the other mechanics within it. All right. On to Ravnica Clue Edition. So this is technically like booster product. You will get a box and it will have 8 different jumpstart style boosters within it, which we'll get to in a minute. So it also comes with a mini game to play where you're going to be able to essentially play a game of Commander, except you're trying to guess You're either trying to wipe people out, that's one win con, or guess who the person is. Very similar to Clue within the confidential thing here. So it's going to be, a person, a weapon, and then a room. So you get some decent cards in it because you'll get all of the main lead characters and then the weapons and then the rooms, but the rooms are kind of not great. And then you get these annoying jumpstart style packs, etc. So you get a Boxland Shockland box topper as well, which is great. Each of the characters is relatively nice and relatively good, strong legendaries. Headliner Scarlet gets a lot of, could find a lot of use. I think that a lot of them kind of went under that radar, but they're really good. Mastermind Plum, great for any kind of treasure deck. You've got the cons. It's 8 random jumpstart style boosters, but you can get doubles of them. You could get doubles of, the exact same cards. There's only I think there's 20 in total. So there's a very high chance, not very high, there's a decent chance that you could potentially get a double up of them, which is not great. And not all the packs are built the same. This is one here. I don't think this one had any cards over 20 cents each. And then there's other ones that have a card that's $20 within it. So you could get absolute trash from them. And then you could get absolute trash from all 8 of your different packs. There's 30 mechanically unique cards within it, but you aren't guaranteed in any way to get them. And even then, some of them aren't great. They're just not decently good cards. I think you do get, I think you are guaranteed to get some of them, but not guaranteed to get good ones. So that's got a D. I just don't think Ravnica Clue is worth picking up unless you find it on super duper clearance, and you're willing to kind of take that gamble, you'll get something good. Outlaws of Thada Junction. So very nice mechanics. I think nearly every single mechanic from this set was really, really good. Spree's great. The plot is great. The whole crimes. I liked the crimes. I thought that was a good thing. The Outlaws mechanic was good as well, which we'll get to in a minute. And then I think the saddle was good as well, kind of a different take on vehicles, essentially. I think nearly every mechanic from this set was good, the new mechanics. We've got breaking news. So this was a bonus sheet. You're guaranteed to get some within each, which is really, really great, and had some really, really great reprints as well. Mana Drain was $100 or something like that when it released, 100 Australian dollars. Occo is really great too. We've got the big score within it. Now, big score is not guaranteed, which we'll get to in a sec, but the big score has some really nice cards that are really, really strong in it as well. And the Spree mechanic, I'm going to go back to talking about the mechanics because Spree deserves an extra special mention because it's great. It is a really great text version of modal spells, and you'll find that within a whole bunch of stuff that was released this year is that modal, even looking at the collect evidence mechanic is modal. It's kind of I guess kicker. I guess that's the kind of thing is that modal and kicker go very similar together. So this one here is you pay this cost up the top and then you pay whatever cost next to whatever other mechanics you want to make use of on the card. So, if you just want to search a library for a card and put it in the graveyard, that's going to cost you 3. If you want to do this as well, then you cost, it's going to cost you 5. It's a great mechanic. I just love it. It's so good. There's lots of legendaries within this set. There is just so many legendaries. There's 43 different legendaries, I believe. And you can use those as your commander. And, if you're starting out as a new player, you could make use of so many different legendaries from this. Gissa is just amazing. If you want to make it a skeleton or zombie deck as mono black, it's great. And I love the outlaw grouping. I thought this was a really great way to be okay, we've got a whole bunch of different creature types that we want to use in this set, but they don't have anything that kind of works together. Let's tie them together with this banding grouping thing. And then from there, now we can have cards that affect all different types of them. So, each card that has outlaws is affecting outlaws is going to affect all your assassins, mercs, pirates, rogues, and warlocks. That's just a really fun mechanic in my opinion. I really love the idea. Bringing mercenary back as well, because it was barely used much before this, is really, really cool. He also had the reprints of the enemy colored fastlands, I believe it was. So really great rare lands in here too. Onto the cons. While the big score was relatively strong, they're also really hard to get. Really, really difficult to get. They are not common. And even then, there's some of them that aren't equal to others. They're all mythics, but some of them are really great. And some of them are decent, usable. We've got the crime mechanic. It can be a bit clunky. You need to remind people what a crime is, especially when you're a newer player. Like, crime is when you directly interact with one thing of me or target one thing of mine. And for some, people, that's going to be a little bit to be able to get across to them. The common and uncommon lands in the set were not great. I don't think there was very many of them that were great. I think one of these, the Rakdos one, might be getting used for the deserts. And there's a whole bunch of deserts that just were a little bit, not good. We had the settings just so-so. A lot of people didn't like it because it kind of brought back a whole bunch of their favorite creatures and favorite legends from other places and then brought them across and then put a cowboy hat on them, and that was it. Like, you got Magda here. She has ties to her previous version, but she's also just like Magda except in a cowboy hat. Yay. Personally, it's an A. Especially the what is it? The bonus sheet. The bonus sheet really kind of brings it up to an A. Without the bonus sheet, I think it would be a B. Yeah, I think it would be a B or maybe even a C without that bonus sheet. But having the bonus sheet guaranteed in each set, it's amazing. It's really great for new players. It's really great for, veterans to pull some nice stuff from too. On to Modern Horizons 3. Fetch land reprints. Not going to focus too much. Really, really great lands. Fetch whatever you need. There's overall just a huge amount of really strong cards within the set because it's pushed above those standard sets because it's going directly into modern instead of, needing to keep balance with standard. It is just, there's very, very strong cards within it. You've also got nice reprints across the set, whether it's, for a whole bunch of stapley kind of stuff like, Toxic Deluge, huge black board wipe. Boom. Urza's Incubator. I need like 5 of these for all my different Kindred decks. Buried Alive, really great reprint. Branching Evolution, a huge amount of really great reprints across it. You also got the Flipwalkers. So these are, on one side, they are just a legendary. So this Tameo is a legendary. And then on the other side, once you do something, so this is whenever you draw your 3rd card in a turn, exile her, then flip her over. And then on the other side, she has, becomes a planeswalker. So it's kind of like showing them like their progression, right? But these can be commanders because they are a legendary creature on their face side. The other thing is that they are 2 color. So like this one here, the Tameo on the other side is a Simic. She's green and blue. So therefore you can use her as a Simic commander. She can run like, Simic. Modified as well was huge, and I really love Modified kind of coming back and being like this big mechanic because it helps, similar to like Outlaw, group all those things together, group equipment, auras, and counters all together, do some really cool things. That means like, this temperamental ooze wag, if you wanted to, you could include into your equipment deck, your aura deck, your counter deck. You can just find a lot of use for it. Envoy of the Ancestors, I think I have that within both my auras deck and my counters deck because it's just really, really great and really strong to kind of be able to give lifelink to all those creatures. You've also got the Eldrazi returning. People absolutely love Eldrazi. They're just huge freaking, I can't think of the word. Lovecraftian beast, essentially. So onto the cons. Price. Oh, this is quite more expensive. Not only because, it's a, what do they call it? Like a premium set. But it's also just because it's so strong. It's going to be harder to find and more expensive to find once you do find it. However, that does not necessarily mean that that is a bad, well, it is a bad thing. I don't like more expensive stuff, but you are getting more value for your money by purchasing it. So you'll notice with some of these like rankings, just because something has more pros than cons doesn't mean that it's immediately really great or anything, because sometimes the cons are huge. This con is relatively big. Otherwise, this set would easily go up to S tier and then nothing would be able to compete with it. You've also got a lot of energy cards within here that are just so-so unless you run it and more of a deck around them or get more, and they rarely get support. They don't really bring energy back very much. I believe it may come back with Aether Drift, but we'll have to see, given the fact that part of it's on Kaladesh / whatever they called it. I can't remember now. But either way, energy doesn't get support very often, so you'll kind of find that some of that stuff, unless you're building an energy deck, you're going to be not getting much support for it. This is an A. Only A because of the price, otherwise it would easily be an S tier one. It's just more expensive than, that. You're going to get value for your money, but then the value kind of gets tapered off by the fact you're paying more for it. Onto Assassin's Creed. Oh man, I've got so much shitty stuff with this. Now, you'll notice again, as I said, just because the pros are bigger, like there's more pros than cons, does not mean it's better. So onto, the free running mechanic. This is one of my favorite mechanics of the year because I run a lot of combat heavy creatures. So if you deal combat damage with your commander, that means that you can cast these for their free running cost. Right? You got it? It's really, really great. A really strong mechanic. There's like, a whole bunch of things that you can cheat out so much easier. Like this overpowering attack. I love this. This is 3 now. And then you're going to be able to just get additional combat phases, additional main phases and stuff. It's clear that this set was meant to be like Commander. And then they kind of added the modern stuff in later on. We've also got reprints of the 5 Horizon lands. Really good reprints. We've got some really awesome equipment and legendaries. Edward Kenway, one of my favorite characters of all time. I want to get it down. One sec. Signed picture. I absolutely love Edward Kenway. Huge character. Absolutely love him. And there's just a huge amount of really cool legendaries within the set and really cool equipments. We've got a lot of really nice reprints as well with the new Assassin's Creed matching art, including a bunch of older cards that hadn't been reprinted for ages. Say, for example, Cover of Darkness. I don't think that's been reprinted potentially since its initial release or at least ages ago. So onto the cons. All right, so this is where I'm talking about the fact that the cons will outweigh the pros so much. This one here is freaking huge con. This is like, this is a really, really bad con. So, the price for this set is awful. Over here in Australia, at least, we don't have TCG Player. I don't think I can buy from them over here. I'm looking at about the same price for both of these. This has half as many cards as this. Half as many cards as it. It's just awful. It's just so bad. If you can get this on clearance, I would suggest potentially picking it up. But I would not go, I would pay half as much for a box of this as I would pay for a normal box for something. So once this is down to 70, I would consider it. It's just, not great. Like to the point that it's a D purely because of that price. If you can get it clearance, this is probably like a B set. I'd say B. But it's just not wonderful. On to Bloom Burrow. So Bloom Burrow is just an amazing setting with amazing cute critters. The talent cycle is really great and really strong. So, you've got these talents that are they're essentially classes, right? Like they're classes. They're just called talents instead of classes. So with it, you get a passive when you play it. And then you can upgrade it later on at the sorcery level. And as you go along, they just kind of, evolve, and you get to the point that down the bottom, they have this really great mechanic usually. It takes a little bit to obviously be able to get there, but if you've got spare mana on a turn or something, you can be like, hey, yeah, I'll upgrade that. Why not? Caretaker's talent is just insanely great because it's just whenever a token enters, draw a card. It can only trigger once per turn, but that's on each turn. That means, if you create a token on someone else's turn, boom, that triggered again. Now you get to draw a card again. Really great. They went up in price so much. Nobody listened at the start people did listen. And if you're on my channel, you would have known that they were going to spike. And then after I kind of, made a video and people started playing around with them and stuff, they started, going up so much. Same with the seasons. Now, the seasons are mythic, so they're harder to get and stuff and rarer, but they are quite strong and can fit into a lot of decks. You've also got some really awesome and unique legendaries. All the legendaries, I believe, are mythic or rare in this set, unfortunately, but there's some really cool ones within it, like, Lumra. Make use of Lumra within my Yuma deck that, mills all my lands into the graveyard. Then she brings them back. Maha. It's just so many different combos you can pull off with that. There's a bunch of Kindred staples as well. So if you're building a Kindred / tribal deck, you've got Patchwork Banner, you've got Three Tree City and stuff, that, just really strong things within that. Like this is within my Voja deck because I'm going to create 1 million mana with my elves. We've got some non-Kindred staples as well. So Valley Floodcaller, give all your non-creature spells flash. Dawn's Truce, boom, now you've got hexproof. And then you've got, indestructible on all your creatures too. You've got Coruscation Mage, make it so that, each time you cast a spell, you're dealing 1 damage to each opponent. The gift mechanic is really great for Commander, for politicking. So, you get to gift something to someone else, probably not whoever you're trying to counter with this one. And then you get to draw a card. They get to draw a card. You get to counter whatever spell you want. It's just really great for politicking because you're giving to something to someone else. And therefore, they owe that debt to you. So onto the cons, there is a bunch of kindred stuff that only cares about, say, cares about mice, cares about squirrels, etc. It's not great because of that. It's there's just a bunch of it. It's mostly around the commons and uncommons, unfortunately. It's not all of it, but there's a decent amount that it can be pretty frustrating when it's not likely those things get revisited for quite a while. We're not likely to see a whole bunch of mice for a while, for example. The land cycle, the common or uncommon land cycle, only really cares about critters from Bloomburrow. So this one here only cares about frogs, rabbits, raccoons, and squirrels. The bonus sheet. So this is a huge con. Not to the point that's going to knock it down much, but it's more just something to keep aware that I absolutely hate it. There was a bonus sheet within this. However, they made it collector booster exclusive. It was Imagine Critters. It's hey, let's take this critter or, person and put them onto Bloomburrow and imagine what they'll be like. It's collector booster exclusive. I hate it so much. Bloomburrow is a B. I think that most of that kind of brings it down is that kind of kindred stuff, the creatures and stuff, creature types, unfortunately, but it is a really great set and has a lot of kind of staple strong cards within it. We've got Duskmourn next. This is my favorite set of all time. This year, maybe all time. The rooms. Oh man, I could talk about the benefits of rooms until the end of time. Unless you're going to, try and cheat them in somehow, then you could find issues. Otherwise, these are absolutely amazing. They are essentially modal enchantments. You can cast it for either side, and then you can unlock the other side at sorcery speed as a, special action. People can't interact with it. They can't counter it, etc. And yeah, each side, usually has a benefit for whatever the other side is and stuff. They do some really amazing things. People just kind of overlook them. They're just really, really wonderful. Especially Dazzling Room, Dazzling Theater, Prop Room is probably my favorite card of all time. Gives all your creatures Convoke. So any creature spell you cast has Convoke. It's just great. But then also on top of that, also untap each creature. It's amazing, amazing. There's just amazing cards across the board with these rooms. We've got a bunch of different booster funds. This is a huge one because it just makes the set feel a lot better to open, in my opinion. So you've got these ones here, which is I can't remember what they called them. Can't remember what the style is. They're kind of VHS 90s kind of art. You've also got these ones here. You might not think that this is a normal one. Might think that it's a normal one. But they have these hidden monsters in some cards. You can see up here, that one there is not in the normal art of this Unstoppable Slasher. You've got these ones here, which is the exposure ones. And then you've got full arts for some of the rooms as well. You've got the Verges. Again, I talked about before how the Surveil lands are top 5 dual lands. I think these are top 5 dual lands as well. They enter untapped. They tap for a color, no matter what. Any card that enters untapped and taps for a color. But then also they can activate to be able to play a different color as well. As long as, you've got, say, an island or swamp that's entered, it's just going to be able to tap for that color as well. Oh, it's crazy great. Really, really great lands. As I said, top 5 dual lands. Unfortunately, they're not fetchable. If these were fetchable, oh God, that would probably be top land then. There is a lot of staples for, Enchantress, Reanimator, Self-Mill, Manifest, a whole bunch of different decks, including at uncommon, right? These are all uncommons here that are just huge, including some of the rooms are staples as well. Dazzling Theater, I think is definitely a staple. These here are Sheltered by Ghosts. Exile a target permanent until the opponent leaves. Until that creature leaves, but also, the enchantment leaves, but also it gives that creature that you enchant lifelink and ward. So you put it on a creature, you exile something, plus buff up your creature for 2 mana. Crazy. It's just huge. You've got Untimely Malfunction, destroy an artifact, redirect a spell, make things can't be blocked, Inquisitive Glimmer, give all your enchantments cost 1 less. There's just so many staples just within here at the uncommon. You've got Enduring and Overlord cycles. These are really great. I don't focus too much on the rares or mythics too much because of the fact they are rare, but the mythic Overlords are all amazing in Commander. In Standard, not so much because I think that they're a bit slow. Even in Commander, they could be a little bit slow. If you have ways to speed them up, it's going to be great. Time travel or something. Remove counters, whatever. It's great. But when they enter, they do something. And then also, they eventually be able to, attack and then do it again. So this one here, when it enters, mill 4, then return a creature card or planeswalker from your graveyard to your hand. Really great, right? You'd almost pay the 5 to be able to do that, potentially, because then eventually this turns into a creature as well. Enduring Vitality. These enduring ones are all essentially an already existing enchantment / artifact taped onto a creature. It's so good. So onto the cons, the Triss Clans are not really great. I think that they're good in a budget deck, a really budget deck. They could be good. They potentially enter untapped later in the game. People don't agree with me, but I think that they're great in a very budget deck. But overall, they aren't great. We've got the theme of horror, may not excite some people. And then the theme of 90s meme horror, which some of it is Ghostbusters kind of stuff. Then it also doesn't appeal to people. So, it doesn't appeal to horror fans because this is meme horror, and then doesn't appeal to non-horror fans because, it's horror. If you can get over that, though, I think this set is absolutely amazing. It's easily an S, in my opinion. Totally my opinion, but yeah. All right, on to foundations. So, pros, lots of foundational staples. That's it. There is just so many stapley cards for this because of the fact this set is designed to stick around for the next, 5 years. They decide to add a whole bunch of staple cards into it. Really great. You're going to find lots of really great cards to be able to use in so many different decks in it. The staples kind of solidify roughly what each color combinations cards are going to be for the next 5 years. So not exactly not every set that we're going to have is going to be Raid, for example, for Raid for, I'm blanking out, Rakdos going forward, right? Not every black-red card is going to be based around attacking, but it is a loose solidification of what that color combination's meant to go. So that means that those staples that you're getting that fit that color combination will potentially find use in decks coming up easily. As well as the fact that these were already kind of stapley kind of stuff like it. Morbid already kind of was a thing within, Golgari, whether it was Morbid or whether it was self-mill kind of thing. A red-white was already kind of aggro going towards that little weenies kind of stuff. So yeah, you can find a lot of use for it in the future. Heir Apparent is amazing and memey. Good luck finding some. They are, again, similar to Slimes Against Humanity. Common, but, potentially a rarer common. You've also got huge bomb mythics that are just going to be great in so many different decks, right? This Niv Mizzet Visionary. Any Spellslinger deck, easily going to fit into it. Easy. Bloodthirsty Conqueror. Any time an opponent loses life, you're gaining life. There is just a million infinite combos that you can pull off with that. Abyssal Harvester. You can steal stuff from other people's decks. You can steal stuff from your graveyard. You can do whatever you kind of want with it. Spinner of Souls is really good because it means that whenever something dies, boom, now you're going to reveal stuff and then bring it out. Nice choices for legendaries as well that are evergreen. Now, when I say evergreen, I mean that they will continue getting support for quite a while, if not indefinite. So stuff like life gain, right? This Elenda here is based around life gain and, gaining life, and then she does combat stuff as well. White, black, Orzhov is going to have life gain stuff until the end of time, right? So it's built around that. Alicia is built around attacking. There's going to be attacking stuff until the end of time. She also reanimates stuff. So this fits into a whole bunch of different stuff that black can already do, whether it's milling, whether it's sacrificing. You can find a lot of different uses for it. So this is what I'm meaning by legendaries that are evergreen, especially this Niv Mizzet here as well. Spellslinger is going to be a thing for Is It forever. You've also just got amazing reprints that are going to be around great for ages. You know, Authority of the Consuls, amazing, amazing. Garruk's Uprising, I think I've got it in so many green decks. I would say most of my green decks have Garruk's Uprising in it. Rise of the Dark Realms, if you're milling other people, if you're milling yourself, if you're just, you know, going to be board wiping a whole bunch, amazing card to have. So onto the cons. It's going to be reprinted for the next 5 years. That is a con as well because of the fact that at the moment it is going to be, you know, the newest set, which means that it's not likely to go on big sales or anything like that. Wait until it goes on sales. Wait, you know, 6-12 months until it starts going on sales and stuff. And then they'll do reprints of it and reprints of it. And it's going to get reprinted every year until the end of time, potentially. It's also a very generic set, given that it's mostly for new players and to put staples into the standard format for a while. You know, you've got cards that are just whenever you do this, and it's like, you know, not super exciting cards, which is fine because the, you know, the staples should be there and not super exciting. They should be, you know, I think some people call them like your vegetables kind of thing. Like, you know, you need them in your deck, but they're not super exciting. Foundations is a B. I think it's a great set. I think that, you know, just the fact that it's not got super duper, like super duper interesting cards is what kind of brings it down as compared to like, you know, Duskmourn or something like that has more exciting cards and more interesting cards. But if you are a very new player, I think that Foundations would be an A. I think for veterans, it's a B. It's kind of like on the fence between A and B, depending on how far you are into the game. If you're further into the game, the further you go into the game, right, then Foundations like drops down in its value. All right, onto Foundations Jumpstart. So this is where you get the Jumpstart packs. You've got, you know, the 20 cards or whatever within a pack. Yeah, there's a guaranteed anime art legendary in each one, and some of them are even 2-color. So some of these anime art legendaries are 2-color thanks to their abilities. So there's Plague On, while in the actual Jumpstart pack you get will only have blue cards within it. You can take that, you can build a deck around him. Now you have access to both blue and white because of the fact that it is within his ability here. And they have some really cool abilities as well. And a lot of them, of these anime arts, are exclusive to this Jumpstart, which also makes them very, very expensive. There's heaps of reprints for staples across them as well. Like Veto is a staple within any life gain deck. Ancient Green Warden, any landfall deck is huge. Creeping Bloodsucker, he's great with vampires. He's great for life gain. He's great for my Abaddon deck that wants to deal damage to people at the start of the turn, etc., etc. He's really great for that kind of stuff. So, you know, there's a whole bunch of staples across different things, as well as like kindred staples. So like, you know, if you're building an illusion deck, then there's some stuff that works well with illusions, etc. There's 121 different variations of packs. So that's a whole bunch of commons, which are 4. Then there's 2 different types of each rare pack, and then there's 1 different type of each mythic pack. So what I'm getting at here is it's not likely you get exact double ups. Now you could get double ups for the commons. So say, for example, you know, Elf is a common. I can't remember exactly. Say Elf is a common. You could get 2 different Elf packs. They will be slightly different potentially though. It's still, you know, it's something to kind of keep in mind that there is a lot of different variations here, a lot of different, you know, themes and stuff. You know, the packs will fit the same flavor, like each elf pack will be the same flavor, but it will be slightly different in regards to what it has in it. These are great for Commander, especially as each pack is essentially a starter kit for that Commander, right? Like Takeo is essentially a starter kit for a ninja-based deck. He comes with him as your commander for it. And you can even run Dimir, like blue-black, because of the fact that it's got it in his ability. And then you come with a whole bunch of other ninjas. And then you come with some enchantments that can fit into your ninja deck. And some instants that can fit into your ninja deck as well. Like, you know, they are essentially he is starting. And the great thing is this time around with Jumpstart 2025, they made it so each Jumpstart pack only had 1 of each card in it, except for, you know, the basic lands. So boom, now you've got some really great stuff to be able to build a commander deck with. So onto the cons. A lot of the value for this is within those new anime legendaries. Rev is like $36 US. I think it's 100 Australian dollars last I checked. Ophelia, $30. right? Like most of the value is within those new anime legendaries. People want them. They are amazing. There's a couple non-anime legendaries like Scythe Cat's up there. Kadama of the West Tree is a reprint there. And then Ancient Green Warden is a reprint as well that have value, but most of it is within those new anime legendaries. There's a bunch of other new cards as well, besides the anime legendaries that I'm talking about here, but most of them aren't really notable. Like, you know, they're good and passable, but they're not amazing. You know, it's mostly just those legendaries that you're kind of looking for that are really amazing. And some packs are very much more valuable than others. So looking at two of the different, you know, anime legendaries, like, you know, as I said, Rev, $36, and then a NEP, which is another one, is 17 cents. Right? Like you could open a Jumpstart pack and you could get absolutely like easily make your money back for it. Or you could open one and now you've got a whole bunch of, you know, 20-cent cards at max. Not great. So Jumpstart, I give a B, mostly just because of that randomization is going to be harder to be able to hit. And because, you know, some of the super duper rare mythics that you want that are amazing are all going to be up in that, you know, mythic tier that are going to be harder to be able to find. But overall, you know, it's a great kind of beginner thing because it comes with, like, as I said, like a, you know, a kickstart your own ability, like kickstart your own deck kind of thing, like a, you know, beginner pack. So having a look at it, these are how I am ranking them. Duskmourn's up there as our only S. Outlaws and Modern Horizons 3 is A. We've got B with Foundations. That's both Jumpstart and non-Jumpstart. Bloomburrow at B as well. Murders at Karlov Manor and Ravnica Remastered here at C. And then down in D, we've got Ravnica Clue Edition and Assassin's Creed. Now, if you did not watch the whole video and you've just jumped to this part, I see you. Go back and watch the video so you understand it before you start complaining, please. If you did watch the whole video and you still want to complain, feel free to leave it down below. I'd love to hear what your issues with are, and, you know, just let me know because I am always open to any criticism and, you know, any kind of feedback and stuff. But I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Let me know what you guys think. Have a great day and goodbye.